Okay, so what would happen if Iran in the year June 16th, 2025, if both Israel and the United States did not stop Iran from the final phases of them creating a nuclear weapon? What would happen if they happened to drop a nuclear weapon on top of either Washington, D.C., New York City, or Israel, or all three? And anyone who is against this tough decision of bombing Iran's nuclear facilities, if this were to happen, you'd feel pretty foolish looking back and thinking how you thought. Apparently, this is a situation where there needs to be stewards of the world to make such major decisions such as this, even when it bends the rules a little bit. But this is something that I have spoken about a lot in my book that I wrote called City Ode City by L.D. Brite. This book is full of real-life conspiracy theories, photos of secret bunkers, even bunkers that are hidden in plain sight, like my video I did. You can scroll underneath my videos. Secret bunker underneath the Kansas City Library, hidden in plain sight. There's also a very sacred, important bunker behind Mount Rushmore. And there's also a famous bunker now debunked by another writer like me in 1992 underneath the Greenbrier Hotel in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. Now, if the president and all of his cabinet are to be killed, the next people that hold the highest rank in the United States would be the members of the Senate and of the Congress. I thought there was only maybe like less than 200 of them, but just like Rome, who we really are modeled after, we have 537. I believe that Rome even had more. And these are the people that hold the highest rank, and there's always one of them that is absent from Washington, D.C. Next, if all of them happen to be killed, the next highest ranking people would be your local government, the fire department, so on and so forth. But let's say that if the 22 most important people before the United States are killed, you're 23rd, which would be something like a senator after the president's initial cabinet. Would you know where you rank? Do these people know where they rank in the United States? The answer to that is yes, they do. And a lot of these people, especially Trump's second term, are very interesting. Now, I got some of these images in this video that you're about to see off of video games. That's how violent they are. Also, I don't believe that Trump's regime are Nazis like people do. I'm just kind of playing into that comical terms. I don't condone any violence. I actually like this term. But let's go ahead and take a deeper look into what would happen if Trump himself were assassinated. Who would hold the highest rank? He's already been assassinated, almost been assassinated twice. And that would, of course, be J.D. Vance. Now, if J.D. Vance is elected in 2028, I think that he's going to take far less questions than Trump. I think Trump is nicer than J.D. Vance. Next, after the vice president, always in all cabinets required by law, is whoever is the highest in the Congress and the Senate, which in this case is this Michael Johnson, this short guy from the South. If something were to happen to him, it's called the Senate proliferate or something like that, which is the next highest person in the Senate and the Congress. In this circumstance, is that guy named Chuck Grassley, and he's like 91 years old. Next would be this Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. If something were to happen to him, I hope it doesn't, because I think he'd be a great candidate for 2028. would be this Secretary of, what is it? Secretary of Treasury or something like that. I believe his name is Scott Bassett. Next would be this Pete Hegseth guy, leader of the military, the ex-Fox News person. I don't know, out of all of his cabinet, I don't really like this guy. I thought he was kind of cavalier, how he leaked some of the war plans to his immediate family or people he didn't even know. If something were to happen to him, or if he gets conked out, it would be this Pam Bondi. And she grew up in Florida, and she's the Attorney General. If something were to happen to him, it would be her. It'd be this guy, Doug Burgum, I guess, Secretary of the Interior. Next, Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins. Down the list, you have RFK, Howard Lutnick, Lori Chavez de Reamer. Anybody who thinks that Trump is a sexist, out of the highest 10 ranked people in the United States, he has 3 of them being women. Out of the 12 most, with including him as number 1, 3 of them are women. This next person who lived a very interesting life was this Howard Lutnick guy I believe he's of Jewish ancestry. Grew up somewhere in the East, I believe, New York or something like that. Both his parents were killed in a car crash when he was only 18. And once the dean of the college he was at found out about this, they gave him a full ride. And he's a really interesting person. He's always smiling. Maybe it's because he was the only one to survive out of 500 coworkers in his firm, which was at the top of the North Tower. And he rarely was absent because he was taking his son Brandon to the first day of kindergarten. All 500 of the people on those 3 floors at his firm were killed. He was the only survivor. So that's really interesting right there. These photographs were taken back when Trump was having a bromance with Elon Musk. Elon Musk was the Doge guy, trimming the fat off the government. He wasn't an employee of the government. He was just an advisor, an outside advisor. Also, I did a video on faults and flaws in 9/11, my most recent video, which is actually pretty good. And a lot of the people who had to jump from all the way up there during the 9/11 attacks a lot of people were in that firm. Also, Windows on the World, which was the famous New York City restaurant, which was right above this firm. So that's interesting. And I don't know if you saw that shot right there of that fat guy carrying that big, heavy thing. That was probably it's called the nuclear football that they take with them everywhere, where if they have to shoot off a nuke from anywhere. And I don't know if you noticed that, it was the big fat guy carrying that. And, this is a really interesting time period in history. This is when the most liberal regime was then whiplashed back to the most conservative regime, Trump's. Trump was elected, did 4 years, and then Biden did 4 years, and then Trump. And what a difference between that Biden administration and the Trump. They were polar opposites. And I don't know if anyone remembers that young woman. She was the press secretary, and she married a real estate tycoon at age 62. She was only 24. They have a 2-year-old child. And then that other blonde lady you just saw right there was his press secretary, the first regime. She got married down at the Biltmore in Coral Gables, Florida, Miami. So yeah, they did have this Greenbrier bunker commission between 1955, I believe, up until 1992, where a nosy journalist like me went ahead and discovered there was something wasn't right about this. But they built up this big basement. No one really realized they were doing it, and so that's very interesting. And basically, a lot of people don't know there's a subway system underneath the Capitol that runs alongside the Washington, D.C. one. Have you noticed in the news when the Capitol Hill rioters, the Trump's radical people, once they found out that Trump lost when he tried for the immediate second term and lost, they were so angry that they stormed the Capitol. And then where did all the senators go? They just disappeared. No one ever said where they went. they all funneled out of a secret subway system underneath there. Otherwise, they would have possibly be held hostage. All right, let's go ahead and go into that the Biden administration's term, in between Trump's two terms. This was probably the most liberal regime in United States history. If something were to happen to Biden, who would pick up that flag? Who was even running the country at that time? He was in such a state of mental decline. It would have been the person who ran against Trump in 2024, Vice President Kamala Harris. And a lot of people don't know that vice presidents often are jealous of the president, and sometimes in retaliation, they just do nothing. Vice presidents already kind of don't do much to begin with. They live in a small house that's not too far away from the White House. And I personally think that she slept in each day till 10, 11 a.m., then ate brunch. She did nothing. I think she told the people around her that she woke up around 7:30, then she does yoga, she stretches, exercise, she's not to be disturbed. And then she'll wake up, take her shower, and do some brunch around 11 a.m. And she was named the border czar, never even went to the border when there was millions of Mexicans pouring over the border, unchecked, unfeathered. She did nothing. A lot of people, Democrats who are against handguns, she herself had a handgun, apparently. And to me, she just didn't do much. And apparently she is trying to run for governor here. It'll be in the late 20s. And maybe the current governor, the Gavin Newsom or something, might try and be the Democratic president in 2028 versus either J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio. But, boy, she didn't do much. And if something were to happen to her, I guess, again, for all cabinets and regimes, the third person, the person after the vice president, I believe it's never even happened, is going to be whoever is the highest ranking person is the Congress and the Senate. In this case, it was Merrick Garland. And then this lady, Patty something. Something were to happen to them, it would be Biden's Secretary of State, Antony Blinken. And he didn't seem like all that bad of a Secretary of State. You didn't really hear from him much. I mean, why isn't he a presidential candidate? He seems almost the most level-headed out of all of those Democrats, those liberal radical Democrats during that cabinet and time period. So after him would be this guy who was, I think, the head of the military or something like that. And then, down the line, you would go. So again, if you're interested in checking out or receiving my underground book, you can write to me at cityodecity, CITYODECITY @gmail.com. Request your free copy. Just give me a physical mail address. I'll send it to you and go from there.